Hello, Internet. Hello, Facebook. Hello, anywhere else this video may appear. My name is Samuel Huber from SamuelHuber.net. Huber Family Adventures on Instagram, Samuel Huber on Facebook, and that's where you can find me online. I'm here today with Sarah. How do we pronounce your last name?
Weirich.
Weirich. She has a son on the autism spectrum, and she spends a lot of her life appears to be advocating and creating her house into a whole sensory wonderland for her son. Sarah, can you tell the folks a bit about yourself?
Absolutely. I'm a single mom, and I'm on Embracing the Spectrum on Instagram. I started building a sensory environment for my son, who's 9. He's on the autism spectrum. He's non-speaking, but highly communicative. Uses an AAC device, makes jokes with it, and lots of humor there. And I started building his sensory rooms just because I was mad at the industry for how much things are being charged, and I just started doing a lot of DIY stuff for him. And over the last few years, it really started accumulating more for him that he just likes to explore throughout his daily regimen. And now that we're on COVID-19 quarantine ish. We do homeschooling, and now we have so much more access to the sensory equipment. It almost makes his day 10 times better. I mean, hands down, 10 times better.
Yeah, Pinterest is your friend in these times.
It definitely is.
So, what does autism advocacy look like for you?
For me, even just today involved talking about what I don't know if you want me to talk about like currently or like
overall. Just talk about whatever. Just answer the question.
Sure.
Currently.
Great. So currently it's, of course, this confusing remote learning plan situation, and kind of like, well, what has the school really been working on, and what have they kind of had some dearth in, if you will. And then seeing where that is, like I can think now after homeschooling, I can advocate even stronger, saying back to the schools, like, actually, we need to work on keyboarding, or we need to work, like, these are the programs that you're not doing. And I can see that because I'm home with him all the time now. And I can see the proof of what categories he's working with. But he's just kind of done so well in terms of one-on-one communication with me with the AAC device that the school is so surprised and shocked. So they get to see, I think, in a way, it opens their eyes and minds to see him and his environment, and how much he talks here, and how much he's flourishing here. And then they're like, oh, how can we replicate that? So I think it's a natural advocacy route, if I can say it like that, without putting blame on them or pressure of some kind. But they go, wow, he really succeeds in this way. And they've already started writing that in the new IEP, for instance. But yeah, I think when you have a nonverbal kid, if you use that label, you have to try to, as much as you can. I'm his mom, but you try as much as you can to put your self in his eyes. What is he like? What would he want to advocate for? And then try to put that into an argument that is, receptive.
Yeah, and I think that's the huge thing. And I like that you're still trying to communicate with his school, because sometimes parents get so frustrated with what the school is or isn't doing. But what I've found as an educator, and then as in my own business, it has to be you have to collaborate with each other, or you're not going to get anywhere. If you spend all your time just fighting with the school, your kid's the one that's going to get the short end of the stick.
Absolutely.
That's one thing I try to communicate to parents. Like, okay, if you don't like the school, find one that you do like. But no matter where your child ends up, you have to communicate. And I think that's the huge thing about autism. We struggle to communicate. So you, the parent, also have to work on your communication skills as well.
Exactly. And then realizing that some things he wants, like extra swimming, may not be achieved in the school environment, but I will always put that out there because that's what he wants. So.
Definitely. How has your perspective on autism changed over the years?
Oh gosh, I think. Oh, that's a good question. I always tell people, when you have a kid that just got diagnosed, it's it's not the end of the world. It's just the beginning of a different world.
Mm-hmm.
And that world is opened up to me. And he taps into my creativity. I really think that he spurs that on, and I'm like, well, how would he see this, or how would he feel this, or how would he use this? And that kind of spurs my own creativity and responsiveness to him. Definitely a symbiotic kind of relationship, but in a positive way too, I think. And I think it's only opened up more with just knowing him more over the years. And
right, and I think that's the big thing for parents, is that not to grieve over your child, that you have to know your child.
Sorry.
It's okay. You have to know your child in a very unique and special way, and like, you have to appreciate the simple things. And for a nonverbal kid, like, the simple ability to communicate is so wonderful that neurotypical children take that for granted. But for our kiddos, it's like, and me myself, like, first, second grade, I could only speak one syllable word. So once I got past that,
Right.
sky's the limit, and now I'm very articulate. And I think it's the biggest thing is being patient. That's one of the hugest gifts autism gives the world, is the power of patience.
Oh, definitely. Definitely.
So, so what was it like transforming your home into an autism-friendly home? And like, you go into a bit more about, we touched about that earlier. What does it take to transform a home from the Joneses' home to an autistic-friendly home?
I think one, it requires like designating space that you're willing to designate. And I think that's always hard for families, because they you grow up in a socialized way of going, this is the dining room, this is the kitchen, this is what we do in the kitchen, this is what we do in the living room. And I think because of that, and it's not like a conscious thing, I think people just get stuck and they just go, oh yeah, I could put a swing there, or I go to people's houses and I just help design their places to make it more friendly, and they're like, oh yeah, I could. I mean, that has all the room. You're right. We're here all the time. That wouldn't hit the TV, or that wouldn't, I'm like, no, it would be fine. And I think people have more space than they realize. I mean, we live in a 2-bedroom apartment, and I've designated 2 rooms for him, his own bedroom for like a Zen-ish, like pre-teenager-ish kind of preparing for that journey. And then like a sensory gym area where he has the big movements of the swings, etc. And I think you have to, if you're going to do design or ideas of design, you have to do grant writing. I don't think they should be separate, because you talk to families and they go, wow, that bubble tube is great. How much was that? And you're like, and they're, I can't afford that. I'm like, I didn't pay for it. I didn't pay for that at all. And you write a grant and you see if they'll give you money for it. And then you go, okay, now I can buy what I want for him or her, or them. And I think that's when people think about design, I just want to say that people think like all this stuff is super expensive, and it is. And just a lot of stuff that you can do is DIY, or write a grant. So
what would be some good resources, places to go looking for some DIY autism projects?
yes, actually, it depends on what your kiddo or kids are interested in, but I have a few on my Instagram and website. Especially if they want to do climbing. Rock climbing wall is really easy to actually do, and I didn't think it was going to be that easy. It's actually fairly easy to do. Some other DIYs are actually, you can do some lighted projects with just LED lights, and with like shades that you can use. You can buy them at Home Depot. It's actually really easy. You can make like a little tiny box. If they like light, if they're averse to light, you could try like a tactile approach instead. I used to just take all the free samples from Home Depot and then put them in and put them on just a piece of plywood and see what kind of tactile he liked the most, because he couldn't tell me at the time. And then I just went from there. And then Pinterest, of course. So always. Yeah. And then the other big idea is that I like to tell people is I take my son I used to. before COVID, but so many children's museums. I get so much of my inspiration from a children's museum. Like, what exhibit did he spend the most time on? Okay, how can I replicate that? He loves Plinkos. I don't know. He just loves them. He loves the sound and the look. When I'm trying to now, my next project is a DIY Plinko, for instance, just like really big. We have a magnetic wall that was because he was excited from an exhibit at a children's museum, and I was like, okay, how can I replicate this? Sorry, that was a long answer.
This is good, because I didn't know any of this stuff, and I'm sure a lot of parents are gonna take away a lot. We've talked a lot about your son, but often I find parents are forgotten in this. So
Yeah.
what do you do for self-care, in terms of doing something for yourself, even though you have the gut reaction, oh, I have to do everything for my child, and I'm not important. Um,
Right.
I'm sure over the years you think, oh, I have to do something for myself in order to be a better parent for my child. How do you go about doing that?
Absolutely. I probably have the 3 areas. Probably shouldn't say one of them out loud. Oh, there was a buzzer. Sorry. But one is I work out like a lot, because that's like my mental health break for me. Working out with Tristan's really interesting, because I think he's like, oh no, mom's dying. I think something's wrong with her. Why would she voluntarily do this to herself? I'm like panting.
Right.
I know I heard the buzzer, but I swear it's not for us. It really isn't. And then I like alcohol. So
it comes with the job.
They are buzzing me. Okay. Should I let them in? I'll be right back.
Okay.
I am not sure who that could be,
Well,
but I think the things that what I used to like is just going out with my friends and going to a pub, and that's what I would do. And I just need that weekly input is probably good for me, and a workout class. Those are definitely what I need. Okay, there is someone at the door. Oh my goodness. I'm in the middle of an interview. Okay.
It's okay.
I'm sorry.
It's okay.
Yes? Hello? Okay, thank you. I thought it was for tomorrow. Okay, thank you. Okay. I'm so sorry.
It's okay.
They delivered my birthday cake early, a day early.
Happy birthday.
Thank you. Sorry.
It's okay.
I scheduled it for tomorrow, though. They just were like, okay, we're going to deliver it.
That's character to the interview. This is really amazing. So how can people get in contact with you if they want help designing their something like yours?
Oh, yes. I am available for hire. So I'm and just shooting ideas off. So my Instagram, Embracingthespectrum, is really great and easy, and it's I contact people through there all the time. And I have a website as well, and they can email me on there.
Very cool. And I'm going to end this interview with the following question. If you could change one way the world sees autism, what would that be, and why?
I have a big heart for nonverbal autistics in particular, of course, but I would say that they take in more than you would ever think. That's the one thing I would definitely change about the world. And that not to make Tristan fit into the world, to make the world fit into Tristan in a way. I would much prefer that avenue of inclusion rather than Tristan, we can't stem here. Tristan, we can't poke that person in the face. Tristan, we can't, I mean, maybe we still shouldn't poke them in the face, but but more like having where the community embraces him, and maybe they poke him in the face, for instance. Okay, that's a bad example, but but I still like that idea of that it's not Tristan that always needs to change. It's the community that needs to embrace him and change with him.
Yeah, and I think that is a very huge message right there, because as someone who is on the spectrum, we spend our whole school years being forced to fit into the norm rather than us
Yeah,
educating the other way around, and it often gets a lot of people like me nowhere and stuck at home because they don't feel accepted. And the way to help us with our social anxieties is to help us feel accepted, to create
I
safe
agree.
spaces at museums where we can go and stim and get that energy out before we continue enjoying what your facility has to offer. Before I let you go, is there anything you would like to say to the YouTube audience?
No, that was it. But I'm really sorry about my birthday cake coming early.
Girl, it's your birthday. You have the right.
No, that was it. I just want to thank you so much for having me. I really appreciate this.
All right, Sarah, thank you for coming on. And for everyone else, please subscribe to my channel below. This is Sammy Huber signing off.
Yay.